Hi everyone and welcome inside this really quick tutorial where I'm going to show you how to make really simple, easy, pro-looking mock-ups for your blog, for your social media profiles, really anywhere to use in your business without having to spend a lot of money on pro tools like Photoshop. So I am inside the pro version of Canva, but you do not need to use or you do not need to have a pro account in order to be able to do this mock-up hack. There is an option for making more realistic looking mock-ups using the pro version. However, it is not necessary for what I'm going to be showing you and for what most people will be needing and wanting to use these mock-ups for in their business. So here we are. This is a copy. This is my mood board that I've created for my new website that I'm working on. And what you need to do before you do anything in terms of trying to make your mock-up is you need to have either a screenshot or a JPEG or PNG file, so an image file of the image that you want to include inside of your mockup. So what I mean is if you are wanting to create a mockup where you include an image inside of a desktop computer, an iPhone, an iPad, laptop, any of those things, then the first thing that you need to do is actually save the image somewhere, because that's what you're going to be using to upload inside and put inside of the mockup. So if you're working inside of Canva, you've created a graphic inside of Canva, then you can simply come up to the downloads and you can find your image and you'd want to select the page that you're going to be downloading and click done. I've already downloaded the file. Once you click done, you simply click download and that is downloaded now for you, and you can just access it from your downloads folder on your computer when you're ready to upload it into your mockup. So the next stage is you want to go back and we're going to have to create a new design or a new graphic so that we can create this mockup. So what you can do is you can come up here to create a design, or I can search for the design that already has the dimensions that I need. Because I'm going to create a square graphic, I'm just going to choose Instagram post. And what that's going to do is it's just going to give me a square canvas to work from. It just saves me a couple of clicks in order to have to fill out the custom dimensions. So there's a couple of things. The first thing that you're going to want to do is you can come into your uploads folder here on the left and you can click upload media, you can click device, and you can find where that image is that you want to bring in for your mockup. Or you can simply just simply drag the image into your uploads folder. And what that'll do is it'll populate that in there for you really, really quickly. And to be honest, you can be on any tab and simply drag this in, your image into this left sidebar here, and it'll automatically know to put it in your uploads folder, so you don't even need to navigate to your uploads tab in order to get that image in there. So that was just really quickly. There's two types of mockups that you can do on the free plan. The first one is simply just creating a really simple mockup here. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Before we do that, let's just change the background color. So if you come over to the left, I can click on background, and I've got my brand colors already selected up here, which again is another pro feature. What you can simply do is come into your, once you add a background, you can come in here to the square and then you can type in your hex code or whatever it is that you want for your background. Or if you're on the pro plan, you can, hopefully you have your brand color set up. Even on the free plan, you are allowed to add 3 brand colors in here. So I do recommend doing that and adding in at least 3 core colors that you use regularly so that you're not always having to come in and change that and update it. So once you get a simple background going here, then what you can do is click on elements, and then you can navigate to frames. And if you see frames, you can just click on the see all. Once you get into frames, you're going to get a ton of options in terms of what types of frames you can include. One that I often like is either this laptop one, the cell phone, or this MacBook. I also like, depending on what I'm doing, is these irregular looking circles. I like using those for testimonials and highlighting like client stories or anything like that. I've used these letters before. Those are lots of fun. But for this case, we're creating a mock-up. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to click on this particular mockup, and once I get this in, I can resize it to whatever I want. I can kind of just hold down and move it until I get it centered, for instance. Once I get those grid lines intersecting, it tells me that it's centered. So this is a really simple mock-up. So now what I can do is I can click back over to my Uploads tab and I can navigate to the photo or the image that I want to be inside of this computer. So if I hold down, I can simply drag it in, and you want to make sure, as you can see, I'm on the background layer right now, so it's snapping to the background layer. I don't want that. I want to keep holding my mouse down until it snaps and it clicks inside of the computer screen. I love this. This is one that I use all of the time. It's not obviously as realistic as a real image being used, but it still looks really professional, looks really beautiful. I can then go in and I can add text around this. I could say new website coming soon, or show a bit of my portfolio, things that I'm working on for myself or for my clients. And I can add this to Instagram, my blog, Facebook, wherever I want to do that. And it's a really simple way to create professional looking mock-ups. But let's say you want something just a tad more realistic. There's a couple of things. First of all, if you are a pro user, you can click down here to the More tab where there's 3 little dots. Even free users, I believe, have this option. I just don't know what's included in here. But you'll see this Smart Mockup button here. This Smart Mockup will allow you to create really realistic mockups, and I'll show you what that might look like here in a second. I'm not going to demonstrate it because I want to keep this really simple. What I'm showing you is more or less a hack for the free Canva users who don't want to pay the monthly subscription of, I think, 10 USD per month. So what we're going to do in order to create more realistic looking mockups is we can click on Photos and then we can type in Mockup. Mockup is going to bring you a number of different photos. Maybe you know you want a laptop mockup, so you could type in laptop and then it's going to give you some options again. So there's a couple of things here that I want to point out. Let's just see. Let's work with this image here for a second. As you can see, this is a pro image that I'm using. Anywhere, if you hover over certain ones, this one is free, this one is pro. So actually, let's use this free version. So all I did there was I held down and I clicked so that it snapped to the background because I want that to be on the background. And what I can do is if I don't like the placement, I can simply use the sometimes you might need to just zoom out if it's a little bit too big, but you can see that these little white dots once I double clicked the background, and now I can kind of play with this a little bit and I can move this around to kind of where I like it. So let's just say I was happy with this. I'm going to bring this back up so you guys can see, and that's way too big. Let's go to about maybe 200. I want this to be big. So what I'm going to do here, there's a couple of ways. I could simply just bring my photo in and I can kind of resize it so that it fits the laptop screen. You'll see what that looks like here in a second. But the option that I tend to recommend is clicking on Elements, and you want to just make sure that you're in this sort of the main Elements menu, and you're going to want to scroll down to where you see grids, and then if you don't get the same options, what we want is a square option. If you're not seeing that, you can simply click on the See All button and find the square. Now I just clicked on that and it completely obliterated my screen, and that is because I'm blown. I've got this zoomed into 200%. So all I want to do is maybe bring that out a little bit, and now as you can see, that particular grid filled my entire canvas. So all I need to do is I'm going to start dragging this down, and now because I've got that a little bit smaller so you can see that's still a little bit too big, I'm just going to manipulate this a little bit. So I'm simply just dragging my mouse, and this isn't going to be perfect. Like I said, this is a hack, but I don't want you to worry about it, because once we get it all kind of straightened away here, it's going to be perfectly fine, and nobody is going to be, they're just not going to notice. I promise you, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to notice. So what I'm doing down here is, because as you can see, I've got a little bit of white showing here. Don't know if you can see that. I've got a little bit of white showing here on the side of the laptop. I can try to play with this just a little bit. So it's, oops, that was a little too much. I can move this kind of thing around where you can see down here, it's now up -1%, or I can move it this way. It might not work so well, so I'm going to use my arrow keys to kind of make this fit how I want. And I'm going to bring this in just a little bit, and I'm going to see if I can bring this up a little bit. I'm just trying to cover as much of that laptop screen as I can. It's not going to be perfect, as I said, but we're not worried about perfection. This is just for a simple way to have a more realistic mock-up for free to include on your social media profiles. So once I kind of get this placement how I want, I can zoom back out. Let me bring this out so you can see it a little bit better. I'm at about 75% here. And now what I can do is I can go back into my Uploads tab, and I can simply drag that in to where it needs to go. And if I look at this, I can see it's a little bit wonky in here. So I can play with this again until I'm happy with it. And if it does not work, then what I can do is I can find an image that works a little bit better. And I'm going to show you what I mean here in a second. Because this is a hack, it's not going to be perfect. But as you can imagine, just want to try to see if I can just slightly increase. As you can see, when I increase this by -1%, the jump is way too big. So that's not going to work for me either. Unfortunately, this is one of the downsides of using Canva software. Is you're not going to get the precision like you would in, say, Photoshop or any of those other programs. But again, it doesn't matter. So as you can see here, I'm just going to zoom out even further. So if you were on social media and you had this inside of your social media, I can even bring this in just a tad now that I'm working with this at this level. I can kind of see what it needs a little bit more. But as you can see, it's now placed inside of the laptop and it looks okay. I would not say that this is a perfect image to use. So you will find some limitations in terms of the images. You want it to be a completely flat image. So here's what I mean. I'm going to show you another example. This laptop is just slightly up a little bit. So here's another example of one we can use. When I say you want to use a flat image, you want to make sure that it's, in this case, this one should be a really good one to work with. And it should work out a little bit better. So let's go into Uploads and we'll do the same thing. So again, we can either just simply bring this in, and maybe I'll show you this version, save you a couple of clicks. I'm just kind of resizing this so that it gets to where I need it to go. And then I'm going to bring that out just a little bit and maybe bring this down just a tad. And it's okay if there's a little bit of white around the outside. Again, it doesn't really matter too much. And now if I bring this back out, as you can see, this looks a little bit more realistic than this one. I think this one with the laptop is still a pass personally, because if you are posting this on your blog or on Instagram, nobody's going to stop. Nobody's going to dissect this. Nobody's going to ridicule you or criticize what you've done here. It'll be perfectly fine. It's good enough is my sort of mantra when it comes to creating graphics. It's good enough. But as you can see, when you get a perfectly flat image, it creates an even more realistic look for your designs. So let's go back to photos and we'll do one more. This one looks like it might be a decent one. The laptop images may be a little bit harder. Now, since we're here, I just want to show you something. You'll see that these some of these mock-ups have this really bright white screen, which is great. They're designed for doing exactly what we're doing here, is creating these mock-ups. The thing that you want to avoid, however, is getting, say for instance, if I click down here, if you were to bring something in like this, just delete this. Oops. If you were to bring in an image like this and try to make a mock-up, the reason that you see these is you can easily do that by going to the More tab and using this Smart Mockup third-party sort of software to create this mockup. What it'll do is you can upload your images, or sorry, you can find your mockups that you want to use in Smart Mockup. You can find the images that you want to use, and it'll snap the mockups inside of the pictures here in Canva. It's not a free app though. You do have to pay for it. You even have to pay for the mockups. I don't use it personally in my business either. So I'm just showing you the free version, but that's why you'll see some that are like this. However, avoid these ones because you're going to have a really hard time trying to place your image inside of this particular picture because it's so skewed. So you really want to stick to just flat images that are easy to manipulate. So I'll show you one more before we take off here. And again, I just clicked on this and I'm just simply trying to line this up as best I can, just dragging out my corners. And as you can see, just kind of moving it around just a little bit. It's not going to be 100% perfect, but like I said, it's good enough. So I'm happy with that. Then what I can do is just blow it out just a little bit so you can see it. And as you can see, that looks really, really nice. I can post this on Instagram, social media, and it looks like a really high quality, professional looking graphic that I can use anywhere in my business. So I hope that you found this tutorial helpful. I would love to see any of the mock-ups that you create using this simple Canva hack. If you want, you can leave a comment below, link it up, let me see it. I'd be happy to go in and comment on your Instagram feed, and just let me know if you found this tutorial helpful. Thank you so much, and I hope that you have a good day.